Enough is never enough for the child who's been not wanted, abused, punished, disengaged from parents, absent from parents. There's so many, abused by parents. There's so many different things that make a child recognize that they will never, ever be enough. Now I'm going to give you an example, a quick example. Then I'll explain to you how it came to that. My father was military and he was usually gone. Just he wasn't around. And when he was around, he would look at my report card and sign my report card and that sort of thing. He showed an interest in what I was doing. He usually would encourage me in areas that I was either having, well, I wasn't supposed to have trouble with any area of school. That was the point. I was never to have any trouble with any area of school. Now, I'm not sure what age I was. I can see myself in the dining room handing my father my report card. So I know that dining room was in Tampa, Florida. And I know that I left that place when I was 12. So I was younger than 12 when I came home from school. Now 12 is middle school. And I think it was early in middle school, so it may have been 6th grade, 7th grade. I'm thinking it was 7th grade. Yeah, because sometimes second prepa or primary school is through 6th grade, and middle school is 7, 8, 9, and sometimes it's 6, 7, 8. So it's hard to say, but I was in middle school. And it had been my practice, because my father was so emphatic that I was to be the CEO of some corporation, unmarried, and showing off my intelligence in every way possible. And that was it. That's what he pictured for me. I wanted to be an artist, and when that was poo-pooed by both of my parents tremendously, I thought of being. I loved animals, and I thought maybe I could do that. I can't do the guts and blood and no. So I thought I'd like to be a lawyer for the military people, because I knew what it took to be a military dependent, and I couldn't hardly imagine what it would take to be a military person full-time. And I knew that they needed to be defended because they were oftentimes in situations that were unhuman, ill-human, outside the range of anything normal. And I wanted to be there to protect them. Human rights are so important to me. Truth is so important to me. And I really wanted to be there for them. I'm a real idealist. I think things should be right and settled and that sort of thing. Anyway, so to explain how the situation would move forward with the concept of being enough is my mother was in charge of me most of the time. She didn't want a girl. She was unhappy to have had a girl. It took her a long time to have me. She had a boy a year and a half later, and he died in 4 days because her blood wasn't compatible with my father's. And she went right to the bottle and stayed there. She was just a roaring alcoholic from then on. And my father was gone, so she was cruel beyond putting in words. And she was not only cruel physically, but she was cruel emotionally and mentally and publicly. She loved to put me down in public. And so it always felt like I was never enough, never good enough, never strong enough, never bright enough, never capable enough. And she would always say, well, Rudy would have done it this way, and Rudy would have done it that way, because she was going to name, or she did name the boy, Rudolph David. Rudolph was the name of, my grandfather was Rudolph Paul, and my father was Joseph Rudolph, so it was going to be Rudolph David. And so what ended up happening to me, my father, when he was home after disciplining me very, very, very harshly at my mother's direction and insistence, we would go places together alone, like fishing, usually fishing or camping. And he always treated me with love and kindness. He always did. But when he was with my mother at home, he often exploded because of he had PTSD from being in Korean War. He also served in World War II, but he came back from Korea with PTSD. So he had these incredible explosions. And so at one point, I had always, in my school classes, I had always done everything that was expected of me and extra work. I always, always, always did extra work. And usually it was things that the teacher didn't even say we could do as extra work. But I would ask for extra work. And if they didn't give it to me, I would do extra work and I would turn it in. And I would ask that it be graded and so forth and so forth and so forth. I was always the outperformer. And there's just never a question about that. I was the outperformer. And so it was not uncommon for me to get A pluses. So I came home with my report card probably at the age of 9 or 10. I brought my report card home and I handed it to my father, and he was not in a good mood at that day that I handed it to him. And he said, "Why aren't they all A pluses?" And I tried to explain to him that some teachers don't give A pluses, but they were all A's. Every single subject was an A or an A plus. And he threw the report card in my face. And I can tell you to this day that the devastation that I felt was so overwhelming that I will never forget how it felt to have him do that and throw it in my face. And what I have since learned is that PTSD does that. Okay, that's not unusual. But the other thing I learned was, as the years went by and my mother passed, and he was angry with me because I didn't come and take care of her. Instead, I was married and had my own family to care for. At the very end, after she was buried, he looked at me one day and he said, "I've died 1,000 deaths for every time I hit you." And I was stunned. I was absolutely stunned. But he was honest about it. I mean, I knew my father, and he was a very strict Roman Catholic, and he could never do anything against my mother, never hit my mother or anything like that. They argued constantly. Anytime he was home, they were yelling at each other. But they never divorced. And so my point is that when you do something like that to a child, you tell them they're not enough. No matter what they have done to be whatever you want them to be, they're not enough. And they never will be enough. So I went on to be a workaholic. I was not there for my own children, and many, many, many times when I should have been there, I should have helped them out. I should have taken care of them. I should have stayed home with them. I should have been more awake and alive and eager to help them, but I was working. And it's because I could never be enough, and I had to prove it. I even proved it by getting a PhD at 63 years of age and not ever working and getting a cent for making that. But I did it. I think it helped. I really do. I don't think I would ever be able to make these videos. I don't think I would ever be able to continue to research. I don't think I would ever feel good enough about myself to think that anyone would want to hear what I have to say. And that's why I did it. Because I really wanted to be able to look at myself in the mirror at some point in my life and think I was enough. And I've reached that point. Finally, I've reached the point that I know I'm enough. Thank you. If you'd like to ask me a question, you could put it down below, or you can stay to the end of the video and go to my SKOOL. It's free, and you can have any conversations you want to have with me about any subject, Zoom, by Zoom, and it'll either be one of us or more, but I'm happy to do that. Thank you.